Okay, so if you have been watching any FIFA World Cup 2026 matches this summer, you have probably noticed something a little unusual happening on the pitch. Twice per half, the referee blows the whistle, play stops completely, and both teams walk to the sidelines to drink water. It is not an injury. Nobody got hurt. The game just pauses so everyone can cool down. That has never been a standard part of a World Cup before. And the reason it is happening now, at this tournament, in this country, in this summer heat, is the story we are covering today. European fans flew thousands of miles to follow their teams to America, waited 4 years for this moment, and landed in the middle of what is officially being called the hottest World Cup in the tournament's 96-year history. Today, we are breaking down exactly how hot it actually is, why European players and fans were genuinely not prepared for it, and the uncomfortable reason FIFA scheduled it this way anyway. Alright, before we get into it, here is a fact-based question for you. How long are those mandatory hydration breaks? FIFA added to every single match at this World Cup. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Is it A, 90 seconds, B, 3 minutes, C, 5 minutes, or D, 10 minutes? Go ahead and comment now because we are revealing the real number later. And honestly, once you know it, one specific detail about those breaks is going to land very differently. So here is the context you need first. The FIFA World Cup happens every 4 years. And for European fans, that 4-year wait is not just a number on a calendar. It is genuinely how they measure time around football. People plan vacations, book flights years in advance, and build entire summers around following their national team. So when this World Cup came to North America, organized by FIFA and hosted in partnership with CONCACAF, the regional governing body for football in North and Central America, millions of European fans packed their bags, bought their tickets, and flew across the Atlantic ready for the tournament they had been waiting 4 years for. What a lot of them did not pack for was the weather. And that turns out to have been a pretty significant oversight. The 2026 World Cup is officially being called the hottest in the tournament's 96-year history by multiple independent scientific studies. To understand what that actually means, it helps to look at what previous World Cups were actually like weather-wise. Germany 2006 was ideal mild European summer weather, the kind of conditions players and fans are genuinely used to. Russia 2018 was cool and unremarkable, no weather issues whatsoever. Brazil 2014 was the first World Cup to ever introduce cooling breaks because of heat and humidity, specifically in cities like Manaus, where temperatures hit over 32 degrees Celsius, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, combined with tropical humidity. And Qatar 2022 was so dangerously hot that FIFA moved the entire tournament 6 months, from June and July all the way to November and December, and built fully AIR-conditioned stadiums specifically to avoid the summer heat. The average high in Qatar during June and July sits between 105 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. FIFA looked at that number and said, no, we are moving the whole thing. And they did. Now here is the part that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. The 2026 World Cup is projected to be hotter at many venues than any of those previous editions, including Qatar, which FIFA literally rescheduled an entire global tournament to avoid. According to Climate Central, Miami now has 5 times more extremely hot June and July days than it did when America last hosted the World Cup in 1994. Climate Central also confirmed that 14 of the 16 host stadiums now see more dangerously hot days than they did in 1970. Philadelphia is hitting 100 degrees Fahrenheit this week with AccuWeather real feel temperatures, a heat index measurement that factors in humidity and sun exposure coming in even higher. Outside AT&T Stadium in Dallas, the pavement is reaching 50 degrees Celsius, which is 122 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the temperature of the surface fans are walking on just to get from the parking area to the stadium entrance. AccuWeather senior meteorologist Adam Dowdy specifically called the France versus Paraguay match, scheduled in Philadelphia on July 4th, potentially the hottest and most dangerous game of the entire tournament in terms of heat. And he said it could be even hotter than matches in Miami, which is already among the most oppressive heat environments of any host city. For European fans arriving from countries where a warm summer day means somewhere in the low to mid-20s Celsius, which most Americans would call a perfectly pleasant 70-something degree afternoon, what they are walking into in Dallas, Houston, Miami, and Philadelphia right now is a genuinely different category of weather. Not uncomfortable, not just sweaty, actually dangerous if you are not prepared for it. But here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. The moment most European fans escape the outdoor heat and walk through the doors of their hotel, their Airbnb, their restaurant, or their shopping mall, they get hit by something they were not expecting either: American air conditioning. And for a lot of them, that experience is just as shocking as the heat outside, just in the opposite direction. In most of Europe, air conditioning is either rare, weak, or considered an environmental extravagance. Most homes do not have it. Many hotels offer it as an optional paid upgrade. Plenty of European restaurants and shops simply do not have it at all. In America, it is not a luxury. It is just Tuesday. Every hotel room, every gas station, every Walmart, every restaurant is blasting cold air around the clock, regardless of what is happening outside. European fans who spent the afternoon baking in 100-degree heat outside AT&T Stadium walked into their hotels that evening and found rooms so cold they needed a blanket in July. That particular culture clash, from genuinely dangerous outdoor heat to aggressively air-conditioned indoors, became one of the most talked-about fan experiences of the entire tournament. Now, here is where it stops being just a fan comfort story and starts being a public health story. Because the heat is not just making fans uncomfortable, it is already sending them to hospital. On opening day of the tournament, the City of Houston Office of Emergency Management confirmed that over 110 heat-related medical incidents were reported at the Houston Fan Festival alone. Of those, 85 people were treated at an on-site cooling center and returned to the event. 27 were treated at the on-site emergency medical center, and 4 people were taken to hospital requiring a higher level of care, all on a single day at a single outdoor event. This was confirmed by Fox Weather and Houston emergency management officials directly. That was just the fan festival. Inside the actual stadiums, Houston Public Media and NPR confirmed that high humidity and temperatures over 90 degrees Fahrenheit sent multiple fans to hospital during matches. At Miami's first World Cup match, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue confirmed there were 10 heat-related medical calls at the stadium on match day, with 2 of those requiring hospital transport. CNN reported that at a Philadelphia match, an emergency medicine physician collaborating with FIFA's medical team confirmed a noticeable increase in heat-related complaints among fans, with the majority presenting with mild heat exhaustion. European national teams did not just show up and hope for the best either. ESPN confirmed that several teams trained in specially built heat acclimatization labs on the south coast of England specifically to prepare for American summer conditions. A journalist from ESPN ran in a lab designed to simulate Miami and Monterey conditions and described the first breath as like sucking in hot air being pumped out of a hairdryer. Even at low intensity, body weight dropped measurably within just 50 minutes. The science behind this comes largely from institutions like the Corey Stringer Institute at the University of Connecticut, led by Dr. Doug Casa, which has spent years researching exactly how elite athletes perform and survive in extreme heat conditions. Their work on wet bulb globe temperature, the measurement that factors in heat, humidity, wind, and solar radiation simultaneously, has become the benchmark for whether outdoor athletic events should proceed at all. For elite players running at full sprint for 90 minutes plus, that kind of heat does not just make the game uncomfortable, it changes the game itself. Players sprint less, cover less ground, and conserve energy, which directly affects the quality and intensity of the football. And on the pitch, the warning signs have been there for years. Al Jazeera confirmed that social media went viral with photographs of European players, mostly from teams used to cooler climates, lying shirtless on pitches and pouring water over themselves during training sessions before their first matches even kicked off. Spanish international Marcos Llorente, speaking after a Club World Cup match in 2025, described the heat so precisely it went viral. He said his toes were sore and his nails were hurting from the heat coming through his boots. That is the kind of specific physical detail that tells you this is not hyperbole. The Global Players Union FIFPro has formally warned that extreme heat should be a wake-up call for football at the highest level. In fact, FIFPro specifically recommended that hydration breaks should be a minimum of 6 minutes, twice that of what FIFA ultimately implemented, citing player welfare research. In 2024, Copa America assistant referee Humberto Panjoj fainted during a match in Kansas City, which is one of the host cities for this summer's World Cup. In 2024, a Uruguay player left a match in Miami at halftime, suffering from dizziness and dehydration. In 2017, professional soccer player Rachel Daly collapsed from heat exhaustion during a match in Houston and later posted publicly that the conditions were not safe to play at your maximum. Kansas City, Miami, and Houston are all hosting 2026 World Cup matches this summer. The same cities, the same heat. So why is the World Cup happening in this heat at all? This is honestly the part of the story that surprised me most while putting this video together. According to analysis by Sports Media Watch confirmed by Prevention Web, FIFA deliberately schedules the highest profile matches, the ones featuring European national teams, in afternoon time slots specifically to align with European primetime television. 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time in the United States is 8 in the evening in London and 9 in the evening in Paris and Berlin. That is peak viewing time in the most lucrative broadcast markets in the world. The fans standing in 100-degree heat outside the stadium, the players running on a pitch where the surface temperature reaches 122 degrees, are doing it so that European viewers can watch the match comfortably from their sofas. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has publicly defended the scheduling, framing the tournament as a celebration of football's global reach. But critics argue those afternoon kickoff decisions are driven by broadcast revenue, not player or fan safety. And it gets more specific than that. Only 31 of the 104 matches at this World Cup are being played in a roofed, air-conditioned stadium. 11 of the 16 venues are completely open air. The World Cup final itself is scheduled for 3 in the afternoon on July 19th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, which has no roof and no air conditioning. New Jersey temperatures have risen 4 degrees Fahrenheit since 1900, which is double the global average rate of warming according to Climate Central. And FIFA scheduled the biggest match in world football there anyway, at the hottest time of the hottest part of the day, during the hottest World Cup in history. Covering Climate Now confirmed that FIFA also sells 2 minutes and 10 seconds of commercial advertising time during each hydration break. The breaks exist because of the heat. The revenue from those breaks goes to FIFA. Here is the part that puts everything in full context. This has happened before. At the 1994 World Cup, also held in the United States, 160 fans received medical treatment for heat-related illness at a single match in Orlando, and 12 were hospitalized. Brazil's coach at the time, Carlos Alberto Pereira, said publicly that to give 100% in this heat, you would have to be a robot. That was 32 years ago. Miami now has 5 times more dangerously hot days in June and July than it did then. Climate change has made American summers dramatically hotter since 1994. FIFA brought the World Cup back to America anyway, scheduled it in the same summer heat window, put the final at the same time of day. The only meaningful difference between 1994 and 2026 is that the weather is significantly worse. Alright, let's go back to the question from the beginning of the video. How long are those mandatory hydration breaks FIFA added to every single match at this World Cup? The answer is B, 3 minutes, confirmed by NPR and FIFA directly. 3-minute breaks, twice per half, in every single match regardless of weather conditions. Now here is the detail that lands differently once you know the answer. According to Covering Climate Now, FIFA sells 2 minutes and 10 seconds of commercial advertising time during each of those 3-minute breaks. FIFPro wanted 6 minutes. FIFA gave players 3. And filled most of those 3 minutes with AIAs. The breaks are there because of dangerous heat. The majority of each break is filled with commercials. That is the hottest World Cup in history. Now, I want to hear from you. If you are watching from Europe, did you come to America for this World Cup? And how did the heat actually hit you when you arrived? And did the air conditioning inside your hotel surprise you just as much as the heat outside? Drop it in the comments because honestly, this one is going to get a strong reaction. If you liked this video, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because there is a lot more coming before the tournament wraps on July 19th. And always remember, whether you call it football or football, the game always brings us together. I'll see you on the next one.